So what is going on, guys? It's Triple G here, back with another Suicide Squad video. In today's video, we're going to be looking at the DEADSHOT build that will get you up to about mastery 50 to 60, maybe even into the 70s if you get the right rolls on the gear. Guys, if you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing to my channel or join me over on stream, as I stream 6 times a week. And otherwise, let's get straight into this video. So the gameplay footage you see in front of me is at mastery level 60. I did technically complete DEADSHOT at mastery level 87, I believe, but that's right at the edge of its capabilities. So if you want to get up past 50, this build will do so, but just bear in mind that the other characters will probably get higher in the leaderboards. So specifically about the build, this build is very gear centric, using the burn meta that everybody's using at the moment, so expect to see some of the same gear that you've seen on other characters. First of all, we're going to be using the Black Mass Bulletstorm. Now, DEADSHOT has a disadvantage here in that he cannot use the minigun, which means that he has to use this sniper or the pistol. The fire rate on the sniper is faster, and we're not actually using the damage on either weapon, so we just want that faster fire rate. This will enable us to burn as many enemies as possible in as fast as possible in order to activate its ability where it will burn nearby enemies if we hit 3 different enemies within 6 seconds. The rolls here are really important, so we want damage against infused enemies as the third perk here to make sure that we are doing as much damage as possible. In the second slot, we're going to be doing the Super Spreader. Now, this, for some reason, seems to add a ton of damage to your build when you have this in the second slot. All enemies killed by this firearm while affected explode and apply affliction to all enemies within 10 meters. Now, it doesn't actually have to be killed by this firearm, and you can switch to it on the fly. So a nice little tactic is to use the Black Mass to set everybody on fire, then switch to it. And if any enemies weren't caught but are close together with that burn, they will pass that burn on to the next enemy, and the dot damage would be enough to kill them as well. In the melee slot, we're using the free flow here. This will allow us to get some free combo going pretty quickly. We're never using our suicide strike, so we don't have to worry about getting rid of our combo, and this will mean that we'll do more damage and get that damage reduction that we will need. In the grenade slot, the best in slot is the volatile personality here. Make sure you are rolling for explosion, radius, and in particular grenade damage versus burning. This will ensure that you're getting the most damage possible out of this. This will reduce our grenade damage by 60%, but it will also allow us to get 10 grenades. The grenade damage itself isn't super important, but the ability to afflict and make everybody on fire is where the main damage is coming. So 10 is definitely better than 3, and that's why we use this grenade here. Then for our survivability, we're going to be using the heat wave here. Each enemy you burn that isn't already burning makes you invulnerable to damage for 2 seconds and return 10% of that damage received back to the attacker. Each additional enemy burned increases that duration by 2 seconds up to a maximum of 30. DEADSHOT doesn't have anything in his tree that will save him from going down, so you need to make sure you have some survivability in this build, and this is one of the ways we do that. In the traversal slot, we're going to be using the Still Force Conduit here. Each second spent standing still adds a stack of Still Force Conduit. This basically means that when we are moving, we're going to do an additional damage. Make sure you roll more damage onto these. 50% more damage for enemies that are within 5 meters is a nice one. If you want to stay further away, you can roll to away from 25 meters, but make sure that you're doing one or the other. You're either close or you're far away, and then roll for damage against grunts and brutes. In the neck bomb, we're going to be using the Strain Specialization here. He does not have enough survivability for us to run just the shield, so the Hugo Strain Specialization allows us to afflict fine enemies with the same affliction, and then when immune to damage from enemies with that affliction for 20 seconds. These burned enemies will still attack you, so this is a really, really nice thing to do. Again, make sure you're rolling onto burn damage, and then I've got grenade damage to brute and enemies here, but you can choose whatever you want. Finally, we're going to be using the Jinx Lucky Coin. No surprises here. This is probably the best lucky charm in the game. This is going to give us a flat 250% damage against afflicted enemies, and then when it is on burn, which is our chosen affliction of choice, we're going to get an extra 750% damage for 20 seconds as it rotates. This is super, super important, because if you time this right for when it actually goes into the burn rotation, you will be doing a huge amount of damage. Now, in terms of the actual skill tree, here is the skill tree. Now, I'm not going to go through every single skill, but there are some important things to point out, particularly the signature skills. We're going to be going with fire harm damage and critical hit damage here over the combo breaker. We do not really reach the heights of the combo very often with DEADSHOT because of the way that he is set up and the fact that with the sniper rifle, our fire rate is quite low. We're going to be taking some firearm damage here, and again some grenade damage and fuel dump over here. We're not going to be using our suicide strike and our traversal attacks very much, so there's no point really taking anything there. When it comes to these squad skills, again, we're going to be going with damage to brutes and damage to burning enemies. We do not need the damage to grunts because we just one-tap these with burn anyway, so it's nice and simple. And then we're going to be splitting our damage between the flash infused and the Batman infused. There's no way to control what it is we get in the incursions, so splitting these effectively is important. Once you get to 20 and 20, then you can go and move those points somewhere else. So in terms of the playstyle, it's very, very simple. We're going to make as many people as possible set on fire using the Black Mass, Bulletstorm, and our grenades. We will switch to the Super Spreader if we have missed a couple of enemies that are close. That way, it will ensure that the affliction will spread to another enemy without having to use another grenade. If there are enemies, like only 2 on a platform, and you cannot get the third for the Black Mass, Bulletstorm, try and look around at further targets to set them on fire. Also, as well, if you can, then you can use a grenade to get that going, but make sure you use your grenades sparingly, only when you can't use the Black Mass to set them on fire. The idea is that you keep as many grenades in your pocket as possible in order to get it. The beacon missions are pretty simple. The Daphne mission is even simpler. The final incursion for the beacon, that can be quite tricky with the second round. Make sure you are critical hitting those enemies and taking away their armor, otherwise the affliction immunity will do you in. Otherwise, you should have a ton of fun with this build. You will be hitting over 1 million damage with the dot damage if you can get your combo going, and if you can get the right rotation on the Jinx coin. You should be able to get all the way up to 60 and beyond with this build without no trouble at all. Guys, if you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing to the channel, or join me over on stream as I stream 6 times a week, and otherwise I'll catch you on the flip.